Thank you for checking out this episode of Upon Further Review with Phillip Jordan, yours truly. You can watch the show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Central Time on my Facebook page and my YouTube page. Just search Phillip Jordan Sports. You can also watch the show over at the Wiregrass Daily News Facebook page. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review, and I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you're just a straight up hater. You can also email me over at sportstalkphillipjordan@gmail.com. You can hit me up on social media at pjordansec. And now, the latest episode of Upon Further Review. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Upon Further Review. It is Wednesday, June 12th. We are continuing our previews of college football teams in the Southeast, as we may be June, but we are not as far away from the college football season as it may seem. And joining me, we're doing Arkansas today. Connor Goodson, you check him out over at 247Sports at hogsports.com, where he does all things Arkansas Razorbacks. And Connor, I appreciate you coming on.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Enjoy doing this, and I'm glad to do it and talk Razorback football with you and get ready for the season coming up.
I know we're just coming out of some teams are still playing baseball, but this time of year you look at it and it's really around the corner. June's kind of like that slow month, I think, news wise, with pretty much anything outside of college baseball, really. But then when July hits, media days and everything gets fired up. So it is a fun time of the year. Just not obviously.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun time of the year because it's slow for us media guys, but and for me especially getting that Arkansas made the Calipari hire, which that was on top of spring practices with football, and then the transfer portal chaos that basketball brings, and then you had a second transfer portal window with the football team. So it's been like go these last couple of months, and then to have things slow down with summer is pretty nice before you get back into the whole grind of it back in this fall and then into winter.
Obviously, I have you on talk football, but just how would you define the first little bit here with John Calipari being the head basketball coach at Arkansas?
It's definitely been a change with Musselman. It was a lot of he was opening the doors and like with summer practices and stuff, he would have all the stuff on social media, and then with Calipari, there's just a swagger and a certain aura around him and what he brings. And then you see it with the recruits that Arkansas has been able to get with this portal cycle, and then in the 2024 class with the freshmen. So far so good. I'm very anxious to watch them on the floor and hopefully get some behind the scenes during the summer practices and kind of see them actually go out and play some basketball, because I think that they've really put together a strong class and a strong team this year.
Yeah, it really brings a lot of excitement to the conference next season, because it's a coach that was in the conference at Kentucky, but still Kentucky new coach. We'll see how they do, and then obviously now Arkansas, a new buzz around him. Add on the SEC, just a great basketball conference. It's really taken that big leap in the last few years. Football.
Yeah. I'll add that it's good. It's good that we got Calipari for basketball season, because this football season, man, we might need some help getting over this football season and this football team with how it's trended the last couple of years.
All right, so that segues into my first question with the football team. Sam Pittman, there was a lot of talk. I think people online chatter, maybe he was going to get let go after last year. He didn't. He's coming back 4-8, 1-7 in the SEC last year. Just what's the pressure level? What's the heat index on Sam Pittman going into this season?
Yeah, I think he's definitely got one of the hottest seats in the nation and in the SEC, and there is tons of pressure. He may downplay it, other people may downplay it, but there were serious conversations of him leaving, and I think that it was more than online chatter. But at the end of the day, the buyout and everything didn't make sense. And when you really look at it, I think from a pressure standpoint, it's just seeing some progress this year as a team, seeing if we can't just put together a successful season and not have a streak where the wheels just completely fall off like they have the last 2 years. And I think that when you look at why he was brought back, you can kind of really pinpoint exactly where things went wrong last season. And after he brought in new defensive coordinator Travis Williams, this time last year, everyone was super excited and looking forward to it because the defense showed promise, and you thought you knew that the offense was going to be rolling again with KJ Jefferson, and that just didn't happen. And last year, the defense played phenomenal for 75% of the season until really the season was over, basically. But the offense just never really clicked. It was awful pretty much from go. And so when you look at why he's brought back, you see the exact point that needs to be fixed. If the offense needed to be fixed, the offensive line needed to be fixed. And so you bring him back and let him try to fix that with offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino, a new offensive line coach Eric Mateos. They bring some familiarity. They have experience, plenty of experience. And so you say, hey, all right, we'll give you a chance to fix the offense. And if you can do that, we'll see where that goes. But I think that coupled with the big buyout and just not maybe looking at the coaching market, that was probably the big reason why they said, we'll just bring it back and see if he can't fix the offense. And then at the end of this year, I think we'll see we'll see what the future of Arkansas football is going to be. And I think this season is going to say a lot about what Arkansas football will be for the next decade or so, I think.
So you mentioned new offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino. Of course, that was a very interesting time. I know for sure had to be being there in Arkansas. Even the rumors of that and then when it happened. How has the fan base now embraced the return of Bobby Petrino?
It's pretty hard to find anyone who has something negative to say about Bobby Petrino coming back. He's well liked just because of the level of success he had as the head coach. I mean, that alone is one of the reasons why a lot of fans are able to overlook what he did in the past and what ended his tenure. But just looking at all the fan feedback when he was hired and when rumors started circulating that he could be the hire, a lot of fans were excited. And I know a lot of people are kind of looking ahead to what happens if the wheels fall off of the season. Could Bobby Petrino be the head coach again? Getting way too ahead of ourselves with that, I think. But, that just shows the level of excitement and what the overall fan perception of Bobby Petrino is, that fans are immediately thinking that far ahead and thinking that thought of him maybe taking over. But it was kind of surreal to see him back on the field during spring practices and hear his undeniable, recognizable voice just yelling at his offense when they would have issues. So it was pretty cool to see that, and pretty cool to see it up close and personal.
Look, I ain't gonna lie. When they made the hire, one of the first thoughts came to my mind was, well, if things go south with Sam Pittman, at least you got somebody you could in place. You could name interim head coach. I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not predicting that to happen, but I said you do kind of have that. The university now has that safeguard in place if it happens, if it goes south like that.
Yeah. And you were thinking that thought along with a lot of us. Everyone kind of had that thought, and that's one of the things that I think really kind of hurt Sam Pittman and what he's needed, because he doesn't have a ton of head coaching experience, and we saw it with Barry Odom, we saw it with Kendall Briles. Having guys who have that head coaching experience and having someone like Bobby Petrino who knows Arkansas really, really well and has head coaching experience at Arkansas, I think that's just going to really help elevate the offense and elevate Sam Pittman and help Pittman feel a little bit more confident about, coaching decisions. And Pittman's even talked about it some, that how beneficial it is to have guys on his staff who have former head coaching experience. So
yeah, it's never a bad thing. It's never a bad thing to have someone with that experience. Look,
definitely not.
We're gonna get into it. We all know what happened at the end of Arkansas, so we all know he didn't get let go at Arkansas because he wasn't winning games. It was other stuff off the field. I mean, I remember he got Arkansas top 3. Everybody remembers 2011 Alabama and LSU, where there was a week there where if Arkansas upset LSU end of the year, they would have been playing in the SEC championship game, and we would have 3 teams in the SEC trying to argue that they could have been in the national championship game. So I think some people need to remember that. But Bobby Petrino, we think about quarterbacks, and and for me too, as a guy that covers Auburn, remembers Auburn history, I still remember way back Bobby Petrino with Auburn, his success with Jason Campbell back then, and we all know what he did with the Arkansas quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson was one of his quarterbacks. Now you look at Taylen Green coming in, obviously replacing KJ Jefferson. I was watching the spring game, and Taylen Green looked like a quarterback. He's got very good command in the pocket. Look, I also know spring games, you're not worried about getting sacked as much.
Right.
But there was also some plays in there too. If we were in a regular game, he would have really had some big runs as well. But over the shoulder passes, he was throwing on time. Receivers really didn't have to reach behind to get a lot of passes. I mean, what was your takeaway just seeing him through the spring with Bobby Petrino?
So through spring, Taylen Green was, the first thing when you see Taylen Green, he's 6'6", 223, and he's got speed like he's a little running back or a little receiver, a little slot receiver. His speed, and he makes it look effortless. Reminds me a lot of Matt Jones, the former Arkansas quarterback in the early 2000s, with just his speed, the strides that he takes, and he's got a lot better command in the pocket, like you said, and he's a lot more accurate. He has way better touch, and his mechanics are a lot better than Matt Jones ever was at Arkansas. But he just reminds me of that just because he can make something out of nothing. He's got a little bit of that KJ Jefferson kind of excitement almost, where when KJ Jefferson would drop back in the pocket, you knew that he was going to make something happen with his arm, or if that wasn't there, he was going to make something exciting happen with his legs. And with Taylen Green, it's like that. Talking to some of the offensive linemen as well, like and even some of the defensive guys, they're just they can't wait to watch what he's able to do in a live contact, live tackle situation, in a game situation, just because he's got all the tools to be special. The big concern going through spring was his consistency. There would be some days where he was throwing it, 10 feet out of bounds on a simple fade route. There would be times where he just didn't have it. And those were the days when you saw the quintessential Bobby Petrino, his passion and aggression and stuff come out. And so that's what I'm excited to see next year, is to see if Bobby Petrino is able to take what this 6'6", physical specimen, and who's got all of the tools to be a special player, if he can hone that and make him more consistent and week to week a very respectable SEC quarterback, because it's all about consistency with him. We know his highs are extremely high, his ceilings through the roof, but you just got to be really consistent week to week to be a successful SEC quarterback. And I think that with Bobby Petrino, Taylen Green can do that.
96.9 The Legend is your connection to classic country legends. But Digio Strategies has other options too. News Talk 103.9 is your source for America's top news and entertainment shows, like Rick and Bubba in the morning, Glenn Beck from 9 till 11 a.m., and Clay Travis and Buck Sexton middays from 11 a.m. till 2 p.m. Sean Hannity, Lars Larson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and others fill your day with the latest news and views from America's top conservative voices. America at Night and Coast to Coast AM keep you company and connected throughout the night. Plus, Fox News, the Alabama Radio Network, and Wiregrass Daily News keep you informed with national, international, state, and local news. And with more musical choices like All the Hits 106.7 KMX, Today's Country 95.5 WTVY, and Music 107.7, Digio Strategies gives you more choices and more variety. Listen on air, online, and on our apps. 96.9 The Legend is just the beginning.
I think a lot last season when I would have you on the show and we would talk Arkansas, it always started with the offensive line not playing well. I know going into last year, I think a lot of people say, okay, KJ Jefferson's back. You brought Rocket Sanders back. But, obviously with Rocket Sanders, he was also hurt. I know that. But also it was really a lot of it. The run game was a lot put on KJ Jefferson, and then the offensive line just struggled. Now, I know they went into the portal, and then there's a new offensive line coach. And, of course, Sam Pittman, that's what he's known for, offensive line. They really did go into the portal and add. Do you see this as an improved unit at offensive line?
I think so. With Eric Mateos coming in as the new offensive line coach, he was able to go out in the portal, get get 2 Power 5 guys, and then one of the, I think, has the potential of being one of the better offensive linemen in the SEC, Fernando Carmona, who was at San Jose State last year. I think with Eric Mateos and Bobby Petrino, both have spent time at Arkansas before now. They've really worked this spring to put it together to where the offensive line knows exactly what Bobby Petrino wants to do. Last year, Cody Kennedy and Dan Enos, they did not get on the same page. They couldn't get on the same page. There's a lot of confusion with what they were trying to do X's and O's wise. And we saw that just completely break down, and it was a disaster, basically. So this year it was all about making sure everyone was on the same page with Mateos and Petrino. It really looked like everyone was, understanding what Arkansas wanted to accomplish. And then you really needed to go out and get some big name guys who had experience at the Power 5 level. And then I think that they got that. Fernando Carmona was one of the most coveted offensive linemen. I know Auburn was one of the teams that was really after Fernando Carmona. And then you've got Addison Nichols from Tennessee, who was at one point one of Josh Heupel's, prized, coveted recruits coming into Tennessee. And things just didn't really pan out there from a depth standpoint and injury standpoint. But, they've got him running at center, which I think is a great spot for him. And I think that he has the potential to be a really special player as well. And I just really like what they've been able to do up front. Part of me is still a little skeptical on, this all coming together and being consistent week to week and surviving the SEC grind, because it is a grind, and you've got to be able to stay healthy. You've got to be able to withstand, a couple of nicks here and there, a couple of injuries here and there. So it's kind of one of those things where I think a lot of us are just a little waiting to see. We're a little anxious to see what this team does kind of when we get into the meat of the schedule.
Yeah, especially now with, division's gone and Oklahoma, Texas in the conference is really interesting in how just teams are going to navigate their schedules, because it's different. How you going to look at it now? Defense, we talked about at the top, defensive coordinator Travis Williams did a really good job last year. Especially they were 5th against the pass last season was Arkansas. The run is where the team did struggle at times, stopping the run. But linebacker, massive hole after last year. A lot of guys gone from that spot. Seeing a lot of Brad Spence as a name mentioned, a Georgia transfer, Xavier Sori. How's those guys coming in? Are they guys that you should expect to see in the lineup? And also, just how do you see the depth at linebacker for this defense?
Yeah, so linebacker was a big area of concern going into the offseason. I really like what they were able to do, because they lost so much from the portal with Jordan Crook leaving for Arizona State, Chris Pupal going to Ole Miss, Jaheim Thomas going to Wisconsin. Those were 3 huge cogs in the defense at linebacker. Those are 3 guys that you were going to be relying on this season to really step up. And so you're able to get a guy like Xavier Sori, who has SEC experience. He's still a little on the younger side, but he's got experience at Georgia. And then Brad Spence, I think, is going to have a monster year. I really like what I saw from him this spring. Just he looks mature beyond his years as a player. He looks really, just knows what exactly Travis Williams is trying to do. He knows exactly what to do for every situation, every scenario. I think he's really going to have a big season, and he can step up and really become a leader on this team, which is what we need from the defense. We need someone at that linebacker spot who can stand up and kind of be the vocal leader of the defense. And I think Xavier Sori's experience on the field at Georgia is good, but I think through the season, you'll see Brad Spence kind of be that vocal kind of guy, locker room leader type of guy. And then you got to like what guys like Alex Sanford. I liked what I saw from them. Caden Henley, also Carson Dean's in there too. He's a redshirt freshman. We're talking about redshirt freshmen, redshirt sophomores, guys who maybe haven't played a ton. They don't have a lot of SEC experience to boast, but I liked what I saw from them in the spring. Travis Williams likes where they're at. They didn't really go and add. I really thought that they were going to add maybe one or two veterans to go along with Xavier Sori, some experienced guys in the portal, especially the second window. I thought that they really needed to add a veteran who could come in immediately and maybe give them something. But they didn't do that, and I think that shows how they view this linebacking core going into it.
When you look at the defense, just what you've seen from the spring and just what what the roster is looking like, what's the strength of this defense?
I think the strength of this defense is that they're going to be able to pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. And if they can't, they're going to be able to, I think, with these linebackers, I think they're going to be better equipped to kind of stop the run and not really give up big chunk plays. I think that was a big thing that really kind of hurt the confidence of this defense in games. I think back to the LSU game, and it was like you could stop LSU in the early downs, and then it would be third and medium, third and long, and they would rip off a 20-yard, Jaden Daniels would get loose and find Brian Thomas or Malik Neighbors down the field and just completely blow things up, and it really turned the game on its head. And you look at Ole Miss, and Jackson Dart was able to do the same thing. Just limiting big plays, I think, is where I hope to see the bigger improvement of this team going this year. And a lot of that depends on health, because I really like where the secondary's at depth-wise, but you look up front and then at linebacker, like I said, at linebacker, they don't have a lot of experience. So getting the guys who are better, keeping them healthy is what's going to really make the difference. But I think that you'll really see a difference in this Arkansas team on the big chunk plays and giving up big yardage in crucial situations.
So lastly, just looking at the schedule, and I'm looking at it right now, Arkansas Pine Bluff to kick things off on the Thursday night. I think that at Oklahoma State game is going to be big. I think you kind of look at that. Okay, that we could be a very sign of what this team's about. UAB and then Louisiana Tech, obviously in the non-conference the rest of the way. And then you look at the SEC schedule. And when I do these things, I like to ask this question at the end. What do you see as reasonable expectations for Arkansas in 2024?
Well, I've said this for a long time. I don't think it's too much to ask Arkansas to be bowl eligible year in and year out. I think that Arkansas should be a team that can go to a bowl game every year. That should be the floor at a place like Arkansas. Occasionally, if you lose a lot of veteran guys or a lot of key playmakers, maybe you can handle a five-win season here or there. But you should be able to get to a bowl game every year. I think that is the floor. Certainly 4-8 is not going to cut it. And rightfully, Sam Pittman has a lot of pressure on him because that is unacceptable at Arkansas. Now, you said the Oklahoma State game. I think the Oklahoma State game is going to really kind of decide the season. Arkansas, quite frankly, has not done themselves any favors with the way that they schedule and with how the slate that they get from the SEC and how they set things up has just not been. You look at like Missouri. We've talked about it with one of my coworkers over at 247, Trey Biddy. He's talked about it at length, just how Missouri, you look at their schedule last year, they really were able to get rattle off 10 wins because they got so much momentum with some easy games. They got confidence behind them last year early on in the season, and that carried them throughout the year. Arkansas, I mean, going to Oklahoma State, if you can win that game and then go into SEC play and maybe beat an Auburn at Auburn to start the year, and that's how that kind of thing can really make a team confident and get some momentum going for the rest of the year. But I think that Oklahoma State game is going to be key to the Arkansas season. And I think really you're looking at Arkansas needs 7 or 8 wins for Sam Pittman to not be looking for a job or looking at retirement next year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just kind of was watching spring. I think this team has some stuff that they have some pieces in place to be trouble for some teams. And then looking at the schedule, you're right. Because if you beat Auburn, you win that Oklahoma State game, you should beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, you should beat UAB. So you could go in Auburn, you start 4-0. Are you right? That's momentum. And look, Texas A&M game, if we don't know with Mike Elko what that team is going to be. Yeah. And we know the Arkansas A&M game has kind of been wild. Pretty much
something weird always happens.
You know, since these two have become SEC foes, it's been a wild one. So it'll be interesting. And look, we don't know how good Mississippi State's going to be. And then
there's a lot of unknowns. But if you can, rattle off, start 3-0 or 4-0, I think that you can really get some momentum going. And that's all it really is. Get some momentum, get some confidence, stay healthy, and like I said, Arkansas should not be worrying about making a bowl game. That should be the floor every season at a place like Arkansas. But it'll be interesting to see how things play out for sure. And we always got basketball now to look forward to if things don't go well.
Arkansas fans are going to start sounding like Kentucky fans now. It's just, let's just wait till the basketball season gets here. But anyways, Connor, it's been fun having you on, talking all things Arkansas football, which we led a little bit with the basketball at the top. Yeah. Let the listeners and viewers, where can they find you if they want to check out the work you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm over at Hog Sports, HAWGsports.com, over at 247. That's where we do all the writing, and we've got expert recruiting analysts, and Danny West has been doing this for 20 years. Trey Biddy also been at it for 20 years. Those guys are two of the best in the business at what they do, and so getting to work with them is awesome. But yeah, go check us out over at hogsports.com, and definitely let me know.
All right, sounds good. Everybody go check out Connor's work with all things Arkansas football and basketball. And Connor, appreciate the time, and I hope we can do this again sometime down the road.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a pleasure to join you, Phillip, and really enjoy talking to you and getting to talk about the Hogs.
All right. Once again, thanks to Connor Goodson for coming on today's edition of the show. We went past 40 minutes on Monday's show, so we're keeping this one up under the 30-minute mark. Just remember, you can follow me on social media at PJordanSEC. You can watch the show on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 7 a.m. Central Time on my Facebook and YouTube page. Just look up Phillip Jordan Sports. You can also watch it at the same time over at the Wiregrass Daily News Facebook page as well. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please follow, rate, and review. Leave a review. I will read it on a future edition of the show. And if you leave just 4 stars, you're just a straight-up hater. You can email me at sports.philipjordan@gmail.com and check out all my written work over at Last Word on college football. We will be back on Friday to close out the week. Until then, see you later.